All right, welcome everybody to the July Bastille Day meeting of Solarchat, the best astronomy forum on the internet by far, by any rational judgment. Glad to have everyone here. Some newcomers, that's good. I'm going to be brief because I'm still suffering from the Eastern European viral infection that will not go away. It's been 14 days and I'm having a little difficulty hearing and talking. I'm still alive for now, and let's hope that continues. Kosovo. Went to Kosovo in June 21st or June 20th. Stayed for 4 days in a beautiful hotel that the Kosovo government gave to us. We opened up the first astronomy observatory and planetarium in the history of the country, which is only 16 years, but still. We had the prime minister, several parliament members, the mayors of both towns. Everybody was trying to take credit and get their picture taken with Cranberra. And Pranvera and I are very close. As you guys know, I started her out and brought her to the West and introduced her to everybody, and she's taken it from there. Their entire astronomy club was there every day. 2 days before the event, none of the equipment had arrived yet. Celestron was still trying to get the boxes through customs. The observatory was a shambles, filthy. Nothing was put up, nothing. Within 2 days, Pranvera and her astronomy club and our team from Celestron and Charlie Bates installed all of the equipment and finally arrived, cleaned up the observatory, put up all the posters, set up several displays, got the planetarium working, fixed a dome problem. The dome wasn't working. And I donated and set up a lunt, 6-inch double stacked lunt on a Skywatcher EQ8 mount on the roof of the observatory, which is now the Stephen Ramsden Solar Observing Deck. That's great. So that the opening went off without a hitch. It was 43 degrees Celsius during the opening, and we were outside. And all the politicians and me were wearing suits, and it was very, very uncomfortable. But it came off without a hitch. Pranvera gave one of the best speeches I've ever heard anyone give on any subject. It was rousing. Then we went inside where the Kosovo air conditioning worked perfectly. And everyone enjoyed a full day of mostly looking through the solar telescope because there was nothing to do with the C-14. The nighttime observatory wasn't active, obviously, because it was daytime. But we did get several hundred people through the solar telescope. And everybody here that's supported our program financially and mentally and every other way, that observatory is yours, and you own a part of that. And Pranvera has assured me that she will treat anyone here that wants to go visit like a king. And Kosovo loves Americans. I'm not sure how they feel about Australians, but everybody loves Australians. But if you're an American, especially if you're a veteran, when you go to Kosovo, it's very overwhelming because they credit us rightfully with the survival of their country in the last war, and they still have American troops there. So if you're a veteran, you can't spend money in Kosovo. People stop you on the street and hug you and tell you they love you. They start crying. There was so much slaughter there in the early 2000s. So it's an overwhelming experience, but I'm glad I was able to do it. I think my job is done now from the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project. We've got 5 other countries that have done miraculous things with our gear. And I'm looking at maybe a little change in the structure of everything since I'm getting pretty old now. But the Solarchat forum is not going away. In fact, nothing's going away yet, but I am thinking about changing the structure a little bit, passing it on to somebody younger than me. So welcome to the meeting, and I will shut up now and let Alexandra take over as always, and whatever she says is what I do. So welcome, and does anyone like to say anything? Now's your time. Mute me.
I think Michael had some questions that he wanted to discuss, I think. Michael?
Yeah, just to throw it out there, I suppose. I've been, as we all do, we like looking at gear and maybe various ways of spending our money. And we're never happy and we always want to upgrade to the next piece of kit, unfortunately. So maybe if I share my screen, can I share my screen again?
Let me interrupt you just for a minute, Michael. I'm sorry. I knew I wanted to mention one other thing. I know 100% correct firsthand from the people that made the decisions that the Orion Corporation and the Meade Corporation no longer exist. So
Wow.
they are not coming back. They are done. Everyone's been laid off. There is no longer an Orion or Me corporation in any country on this earth. So keep that in mind if you're looking for Coronado parts.
Yeah,
I would definitely recommend you not buy anything from Mead or Orion that's Coronado branded, because they are only selling all the leftover junk that doesn't work. So that's that.
And that is interesting, because the timing of it is as when I was going through this thought process the last couple of months, that very much feeds into it, Stephen, because if I buy anything Coronado, is there any real is a warranty worthless, essentially?
Yes, it is. The only way to get it repaired is off aftermarket from someone you might know or someone who repairs them, and there's no way to buy anything new that works from Coronado.
Yeah.
Now, some of the retailers may still have stock. I don't know about that, but nothing is coming from Mead or Orion anytime in the future.
Yeah. So the setup I have, which I'm very happy with, is pre-Mead. I believe it's pre-Mead. So yeah, I bought it about 2011 and pre-owned. Solarmax 90 filter. At the time, I just went off and I bought what was the cheapest telescope I could get, pre-owned, and it was like 100 quid's worth, and it was the Skywatcher Star Traveler 102 f5. And through a sheer stroke of luck, because I hadn't realized it beforehand, the threads of the Solarmax 90 go directly onto the Sky Traveler. So that saved me twice the price of the telescope in getting an adapter for it, you know, so that was really lucky. I'm a big believer in using binary viewers for observing the sun. I think they completely change the visual experience. And with a simple telescope like this, I was able to take about an inch off the back, push the focuser up another little bit, binary view, and bring it into focus with the 1.6x adapter. So at 500 millimeters with the 1.6x and 20 mm eyepieces, it's about 40x magnification. Gives fantastic full dusk views. Really happy with it. But there's a couple of flaws, I suppose. One, it would be nice, obviously, to have double stack. Two, the thread on the Solarmax 90 doesn't go the full depth into the scope, so it's only about 1 millimeter length of thread. So if I was to go double stack with an external ethanol, which is probably maybe the optimum solution, I would be concerned on the strength of that thread. It's okay the way it is. It might be pushing a little bit, pushing the weight of another glass filter on the front. The other point is that focuser is a single speed rack and pinion. I prefer rack and pinion over Crayford. That's all well and good, but it's single speed. Dual speed would be better. So the question now is, I'll throw it over to you guys, is what would you recommend as the route forward, especially given everything in mind we were just discussing on Coronado, if I am to go the next step and make this double stack?
I would recommend that you forget about that and start using that spectroheliograph a lot more.
Yeah, I am using that. I'm having other particular problems actually with that one in particular, which is the mount and the worm, and actually get the smooth image. But that's another day's discussion perhaps.
It looks like you just need another Coronado 90 Etalon and tilt tuner. That's two separate pieces, and the only way you're going to get that is on the used market. And you have to do trial and error, because some of them were designed to be front etalons and some of them were spaced to be rear etalons. And so I doubt the owners know which ones are which unless they're very experienced like you. So, you know, if that were my scope, I'd probably leave it like it is, man, because it looks pretty cool. You know, Alan Friedman uses almost the same setup, a single 90 millimeter etalon on a Astrophysics 102 refractor. And that's a BF15 Coronado filter, and he takes the best photographs on Earth. And that's almost an identical setup to his. Anyone else?
Obviously, we have discussed previously the DSR situation and the options on that. That's probably not an option I'm interested in. Just, you know, the launch situation is interesting in that the prices of the launch gear in Europe is pretty much double what it is in the US. That makes it quite off-putting going that route. Plus, the filter sizes don't exactly match up. This is a 90, so do I go 80 and go cheaper and compromise on aperture? Do I go 100 and pay the extra money and go and have the bigger telescope to haul around? So there's pluses and minuses. Plus, the 100 mil is the rear etalon version with the pressure tuning, as opposed to front. which I think most people would consider that the front-mounted system would be preferable in most cases to the rear-mounted, you know, on an average basis, we'll say.
Agreed. If the ailerons match, that's far superior.
Yeah.
Michael, how old is it? Is it?
I bought that in
2011.
2011 and it's old, that was pre-owned, so it's probably, let's say 3 years old, it probably is more, so
Is
it's
it like the original USA made Coronado?
not, doesn't say meat on it.
If it
Right.
does it say made in the USA on the side of the gold band, because they all had stickers that said made in the USA on them.
Yes.
Give me 1 minute.
Okay. If it doesn't have that sticker, then it's not American made.
Yeah, it does not have a sticker on the side saying made in
Okay.
USA.
Right. So it's probably a mead filter made in Mexico, which doesn't make any difference. They're all
But
they're
how
fine.
long were they making those?
I believe they started that in 2006, but I'm not 100% sure.
That old, is it? Okay, interesting.
Because I was wondering whether you could marry it up with a solar scope. Because Helmut would be very, you know, able, I would have thought, to make the appropriate filters, because I know that he repairs, you know, the Coronado Etalons, the solar scope owners, because it was originally, it's a bit of a crossover, you know, the original Coronados were made by the original solar scope.
They were before David Lunt went to the US. Yeah.
It's Ralph again.
Yes.
I think Ralph
Yeah.
has some Jawas in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the made in the USA sticker, Ralph showing you.
Yeah.
We see the sticker there, Ralph. Thank you. I will give you 1 moment and I will get it actually. Bear with me.
Yeah, before when Mead was still doing business, it was they could get in a lot of trouble for repairing Mead products at Solar Scope or at Lunt because of some kind of agreement Andy signed, some kind of stupid agreement. Andy Lunt, well, we won't talk about that. But now it doesn't matter because no one's there to sue you, so anybody can repair Mead products now, Coronado products. And I do know a person that keeps mine up to date, but I'm not allowed to put that out. So.
Because
So,
I
Mike-
would have thought that Helmut would probably be able to help. He might not be able to, and he might say, "No, I don't want to do it." But it's worth, you know, because the solar scopes now in the UK seem to be about the same price now as the Lunts.
I didn't know that.
There doesn't seem to be much difference between. It's only because of, you know, like UK tax and everything. They seem to be like equivalent in price now, so they're not sort of like way out of the way like they used to be. So I would have thought it would have been quite a good, you know.
Well, unless something's vastly changed, you'd have to be out of your mind to buy a Lunt for the same price as a Solar Scope.
Well, they're incredibly expensive for the Lunts in this
Good Lord.
country. I don't know
That's
why.
unbelievable.
Yeah, the Lunt is literally, so if you can see my screen, which has gone onto another tab on APM telescopes, for example. So the Lunt 100 millimeters are starting at about 12,000 euros, which is similar in dollars.
About $15,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there it is in US for about 6.5. Now that does, to be fair, that does not include some accessories of a block-in filter and so on, but it is a significant price difference.
You can fly first class to the US and buy that and return to London and still save money.
Well, yes, although you are at risk of being pulled aside by as soon as you walk through
Customs, yes.
What's that doing in there? I don't know what that is.
Yeah. But I see there is a for sale of someone for sale notice on our website there for I think it's $5,000 for a Launch 100 millimeter. So it's interesting. But you know, I suppose, is that really the route? Or I mean, the solar, I think most people would agree the solar scope is the number one, perhaps. I would say in the list.
Yes.
And then it's a question probably the pre-Mead front-mounted Etalons are probably number two. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And then you have the rear-mounted systems coming in after that. If I hold up the Etalon I have here, sorry, apologies about the image there. So there's no Mead instruments or anything written on the front.
Right.
Okay. Does that mean it is pre-Mead, or as soon as Mead started making them in Mexico, Stephen, did they
We
put?
can only see your picture.
sorry.
What's the serial number, Michael? Does it start with a 9? Does the serial number start with a 9?
patent number 618. Okay, there's a number at the back. It just says 5, handwritten. If you can see can you see my screen now here?
Yeah.
I can. Can you
Okay.
unscrew the gold band around
Oh.
the etalon? And there's probably some information inside it. There'll be some marks in there. Now, don't drop it.
Oops, live.
And that, Michael, it doesn't really matter if it was pre-made or not, to be honest with you. The quality's identical.
Okay. I'll take off the T-Max filter. It just says on the back here, it's handwritten 581, or is it 581? 581. And on the front, it just says a patent number, and that patent number begins with a 6. But that's it. Yeah. It's quite a low number.
Well, the patents were owned by Lunt, and I mean by Coronado, and then sold to Mead. So the patent number would be the same whether it's Mead or Coronado. Okay. The gold doesn't unscrew from the outside of the etalon. The gold case itself, that should just unscrew off there and show you the internal etalon.
Oh, okay. So the gold case can unscrew. I
think so. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't.
No, it's not part of the mechanics of the etalon. It's just a cover.
I might look at that afterwards, but I'm a bit nervous of doing that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I wouldn't worry about it though. Like I said, it doesn't make any difference whether it's pre-made or not.
Okay. It would be interesting to know. I would, in an ideal world, like to know what, how old it was and where it was made. That would be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had in my head for some
I've got 2 etalons that look identical to that, with the same very thin black metal cover and the same exact T-Max and the same exact no USA sticker on it, same cover and everything. That I know for a fact were sold to me by Mead because I bought them from Mead new. But that doesn't mean that they weren't made in the US, because in the transition, it took about 18 months to get everything from here to there and everything to get organized. So it's quite possible it was sold by Mead, but made by Coronado in Phoenix. It's quite possible it was sold by Coronado and made by Coronado. And it's also possible it was sold by Mead and made in Mexico. And I don't think that there's any difference to even worry about.
Okay.
In my opinion, of course.
I'm very happy with the filter. I mean,
that's all that matters.
I got it for quite a good price, and I did have some issues with the blocking filter, but I did get that repaired, and I've since upgraded to a larger one, the BF15. Everything's going well, and I have no issue with that BF15 filter. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's probably
amen, brother. Amen.
Leave
it alone.
We all aspire to just a little bit more, and
I know.
And it's fair to stop with it.
Question, Michael. Do you want to use it for visual or for imaging, like as the primary use?
Visual would be primary, but I would like to consider to be able to use it for imaging as well. But 90% of the time, I would use this filter for visual, and it's particularly with the binary viewers, it's really enjoyable, I have to say. Yeah.
Right.
To be honest, those filters were designed for visual use. They were never designed for imaging, and David Lunt would have told you that if he was still alive, and so would the Solarchat guy. They were never designed to use in imaging.
Hey, Michael, what binary viewer do you use?
The William Optics. I will share the screen again with 1.6x corrector and 20mm eyepieces. And this is a little Alpine kind of binary viewer shield that I use. That's very good because when observing the sun, obviously it's very bright outside. The image is relatively dim because it's halved. And so for years I have used a black and white cloth, black on the inside and white on the outside to reflect the heat of the light, to try and mask the stray light. But this actually helps almost do away with it, to be honest with you. And it's nice and simple. And you just can clip it over at the end of the day, and it keeps the dust off the eyepieces as well.
Thank you.
But sorry, Ryan, you were saying, yeah.
Well, just thinking on the other side of the outside of the box, for lack of a better term. So I've got the 80mm Lunt dedicated solar scope.
Okay.
And I front mounted the Lunt 75mm etalon on it to double stack it. The Lunt 50s, you can thread the etalon assembly off the back of the optical tube. If you were to get for example, a Moonlight focuser, it has M68 thread that's the same thread, so you can adapt the focuser into your optical tube, thread the pressure tube etalon onto it. I don't know whether you'd have to shorten the tube or anything, but you'd keep the ability to switch it from double stack or not.
Yes. Okay.
And friend of mine has just bought a 50 at Neath in April, and it is a beautiful little scope. But it's how well it would match up with the Etalon, I don't know, but it'd be very similar to the setup with the pressure tuned primary Etalon and the front mount double stack that I have.
Yeah, because I was looking at a Lunt 60, and as I understand, that is actually a 2-inch diameter OTA, if I understand correctly. And I could actually, even if I was to really go quite crude on it, just chop the front part off and just slap it in the back, and I have the focuser and Etalon all in one.
Yep.
Now I understand that that may not work very well because this is an F5 system. It's designed for a different F ratio. But one did come up for sale in the UK actually recently. It was tempting, but I'm a little reluctant to start experimenting buying telescopes and hoping they'll work. And maybe because what I was thinking up to now is just buy once, cry once, get the Solarmax 90 OTA, put this onto it, which it's designed for, and at least have a one configuration setup. Now you have the Solarmax 2s, which are still for sale, which have the rear mounted tilting, or you have the Solarmax 3, which is another 2 or 3 grand, and you can adjust at the front. One of the concerns I have with having a longer OTA would be reaching up to adjust the tilt mechanism. I know some people have come up with all sorts of devices to try and be able to turn the tilting from back at the focuser system, various ratchet systems, but it's more I suppose I know, Stephen, you've tried pretty much all of these, but I know the Solarmax 2 was designed for binary viewing. I'm not sure about the Solarmax 3, and as I understand, the focal lengths are about 800 millimeter of that order, so they're a little bit longer than what I have. So if I was going 800 millimeter, ideally I'd like to get rid of the 1.66 corrector, possibly, but then possibly even need to shorten the tube even more to make sure I can still observe at about the 40x magnification.
Well, I can tell you now that they're not sponsoring us anymore, and they won't be sponsoring anybody because they don't exist. No way ever would I give anyone a single penny for a Solarmax 2 telescope of any kind. Just that's my opinion. The Rich View tuning system is a pile of junk. I would never recommend anybody buy it. The Solarmax 3s are great scopes if you can find one. But I think that Lunt 50 is probably they have really improved the quality of their product on the low end. Lunt has, But so I was wondering, you're hesitant about buying and trying a telescope, but you're not hesitant at all about hacksawing it in half once you buy it.
Oh no, well, one of the advantages,
my kind of guy.
One of the advantages of a 50 or 60 will be that it will be very nice and easy and portable to bring on holidays as well.
Right.
Chuck it in a hand luggage, and it's not too heavy and small, and
Right.
there's a lot to be said for that option. But I'd like to be reasonably sure it would work. And I know, Brian, I've been looking at what would interest your presentation previously on the setup you have developed, and I was looking back at it again, and that's quite a nice rig you have put together with the rear mounted system.
It took more machining of parts to adapt the DS2 Etalon. So if you wanted a larger aperture, you could do that as well, but then you still have to then machine something to a focuser on the back end of it.
Yeah.
The 50, the fact that it threads into the Moonlight 68 millimeter thread makes it a little bit less cumbersome to do. But everybody's got their own level of comfort, and I have a machinist in town that does stuff for dirt cheap, so I gotta go see him on tomorrow.
And is that Lunt 50 pressure tune system?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's just a scaled down version of the 60, but there's lots of people have shown images with the either bought a 68 millimeter adapter to fit into a scope and you just thread it right in, or done the Moonlight focuser bit to attach it without having to cut stuff and make a lot of extra work.
And
so, anyway.
No, and let me, why don't I share the screen here, we'll take a quick look. sorry, now I don't want to be taking up too much time because other people have other items for discussion here. But if that's the 60, right? Just throwing it out there, that would be the focuser and the Ethlon all in one. I presume these systems, they're rear mounted, so they'll be a bit like a PST, essentially. They'll have the collimator lens in front of the Ethlon, bringing it through as parallel waves, and then the lens to bring it back into the original F ratio. I presume that's how it works, Brian.
Fundamentally, the biggest disadvantage of the rear mounted one is, unless you're going to take it apart, take the collimating lenses out and put in a custom set to match your system, you wind up with you can't do full disc imaging. Now, visual, and if you're imaging zoomed in, your sweet spot's fairly limited, but so those ones have a helical focuser, but you can replace it with a feather touch rack and pinion one. So that red portion just threads out of the back of the white tube. And
it looks like a very modular system of just a series of parts that have been just screwed together, essentially.
Yeah, it's just dedicated for solar because they never intended for it to be used for other purposes. If you go to the modular telescope system they have, then you've got the interchangeable focuser. Take the Etalon out, put the focuser on, use it for deep sky or planetary, but the smaller scopes are a little bit different. The biggest part of it is, I haven't got a 60, but I assume it's like my 80. You have to, the tube threads on to thread on the Etalon housing. So unless you got a machinist who can kind of very fine thread, it's hard to do an exact match. And so for mine, I had the 75 millimeter Etalon from right after Lunt came to market, pretty much. So when I got the 80 millimeter, I just threw it on the front as a double stack, and I've left it that way, even though I have two of their modular double stack units, but I use them on my mod.
Okay. And it is,
it's a thought, no guarantee it's going to work, but it's just another alternative compared to trying to stack another Etalon on the front, which you're limited for weight. And I've had an Etalon fall and land on my feet and not the concrete observatory floor, so I don't want to see that happen.
No, definitely not. And the price is, well, I'll have to see what it is in Europe. It's probably double that. But yeah, it's a good bit cheaper than the 60 for sure.
Yeah, and if you want a small portable scope, that one's, you put a little suitcase or little case, and it'll fit on a photo tripod because they're not exceptionally heavy. If you just want to have something grab and go quick. Anyway.
Yes, because going down the 90 millimeter aperture, I say on the Cornado or the Launch, you're suddenly into the 6 to 10K range, whereas this is much more attractive. So and even if it doesn't work, I still have a nice little grab and go solar telescope for the holidays.
Yeah, so I've got that one myself and upgraded to the Feather Touch, and it is a perfect grab and go, especially if you have one of the little Solar Quest mounts, trackers. It works fantastic for that.
Yeah, one of those. It's Skywatcher units. Yeah. Okay, I was looking into that. And optically on the front of that, then, there's no extra power mates or barrels or anything. I could potentially just put that into the back of my scope.
Yeah, I think the front of it is threaded to put a 50 millimeter double stack on.
It is.
So like the front module, you could get somebody to machine a ring. You could put your 90 millimeter Etalon as a double stack. It'd be front heavy as a devil, but it would work.
Yeah. Okay, I need to look into this a bit more. Yeah. But yeah, certainly as a focuser, I would need to do the upgrade anyway, to be honest with you. And that's why I was thinking more like a 90 or 100 millimeter, even a standalone telescope with a focuser system, maybe a better quality focuser system where it would be easy to shorten the OTA and do the mods. I wouldn't want to be buying, say, a Teleview 101, for example, and then trying to hack something like that. That would be a bit dramatic for that kind of creative scope.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm open to any other ideas if anyone's got any. Alexandra, you mentioned SolarView. They are in 70, 50, 70, and 100 millimeter aperture. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah.
But obviously, we have to wait for the weather in the Isle of Man to improve a little.
I know.
I'm still waiting on summer of 2023 to arrive.
Oh, it's just absolutely dire. I think it's rained constantly here since last Monday. Still waiting for the rain to stop.
And I've been watching the weather satellite photos, and you are getting better weather than we are in Ireland.
Oh, really?
You know, Michael,
You're not getting...
the 2014 Astrophotographer of the Year award was won by a solar scope. Just if you didn't know that, it was
Yeah.
they
So we
edged
had
out.
sunny weather then. In the last, I think the last 3 years, I think has been just the worst summers I've ever encountered. And this year, well, I keep thinking every year seems to be getting worse. I keep thinking, oh, this was a terrible year. I've only got, you know, like the telescope out about 4 times. And then this year it's like maybe once or twice. It's just absolutely horrendous.
The advantage of at least visual is you can just bring it aside, have a quick look, get there, and whereas obviously with imaging, you're into the mounts, the tracking, polar alignment, and there's a bit more of a setup, which makes it in with the weather we have just a little bit maybe you want to be pretty sure of it perhaps.
Well, yeah, because I've sort of like been taking a very long, hard look at what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy over the last few months. And I've sort of like come to the conclusion is that I'm just, I think, going to give up on, you know, like large aperture because it's just a total, utter waste of time. If I wait 3 months, you know, for one Saturday that happens to be sunny, and then I get a large aperture out, spend ages looking at it, and then every single photograph is just rubbish at the end that just goes in the bin, I've not enjoyed myself. I'm starting to think that I need to just stick with the solar scope that I really enjoy, and sell everything else. And maybe I've been sort of like thinking I'd like something like a double stack 60 or a double stack 50 that I can just take out with me and get really lovely full discs with. But it's mobile, whereas the Solar Scope and the Tech 140 is not really mobile. It is kind of, but it fills the entire boot of the car up. But the PST is great, but the image quality, if I did want to take an image of it, is pretty poor. It's great for sketching and taking on holiday, but the images are poor. And I was thinking like a 60 or a 50 might be, you know, mobile like the PST and great for sketching. But if I wanted to, I could then take an image of it. So I'm sort of like in this sort of like floaty time at the moment and trying to take stock, you know, of what I've got and what I really enjoy, because it's, you know, like the large aperture is just making me miserable. And when you've got a hobby, you shouldn't be getting miserable about it. So
That's a good point. That's a good point, Alexander, because you know I've given away everything basically down to the 100 millimeter double stacked external Lunt telescope and this big giant astrophysics monitor or mount, and I really don't use it nearly as often as I used to use the more portable outreach stuff. So that's a really good point. I might need to think about that because you know it's 105 degrees here right now outside. That's about 38 C, I think. And no way in hell am I going to go out and carry that 200 pounds worth of equipment and set it up in my yard and look at the sun because I'd be dead before I got it done.
well, yeah, and then it puts you off, and then you don't take it out, and then you don't get a view. And I was thinking, you know, our weather is just so utterly miserable at the moment. I need something quick, easy to carry, something that I can do on my own. And I can get it out and I can look and I can enjoy the sun, quickly. And then I will get much more enjoyment out of it. I think I've just been sort of like going down this aperture rabbit hole. I don't understand what I'm doing. I can't lift it. And we just don't have the weather for it. And it's just been making me miserable. And that's just been putting me off actually using it. And I think that is the wrong way to go, to be honest.
Right.
So if anybody wants a Celestron C11,
Yeah, I've got another one if anybody wants it. Seriously,
if
you can have it.
anyone wants, like an Aries DRE, like the big ERF for the C111, then let me know, because it's just making me miserable. So just don't want it
You need to
anymore.
sell them and put it towards Ryanair flights to the south of Spain, Alexandra.
Well, this is one thing I was discussing with Andy actually. Is he's got like a spare pier in his, and I was saying, can't I just donate this C11 and this Aries thing, and just give it to you, put it on this mount, and then cover it up. And then if I say, oh, Andy, can I have a look through it, have an internet link to it, and then we've got a remote observatory, because I can't lift it. And it's just utterly ridiculous for me. I'm too little for it.
It's not getting any easier either. I mean, I have a C11 and a C14 here that are both have feather touch focusers, and they're both in perfect working condition, but I can't pick either one of them up anymore long enough to mount them safely. And I did drop the C14 dew shield first into the dirt last time I tried to mount it. And that was not a very pleasant experience.
Well, the damn things
I think one of the best things I've done was a roll-off roof observatory for my. I've got a triple mounted telescopes, 3 wavelengths, G-band, the hydrogen alpha, and also the CAC, and I can be up and running within 5-10 minutes of opening up.
That's fantastic.
Good for you. I have a tent and
best thing.
Rattlesnakes everywhere. So
the best thing I just bought an ordinary shed and just made it so that the roof runs off.
Awesome.
That's it. And I got a 10-foot by 6-foot shed, and 6 foot is where the telescope stands, and 4 foot is like a warm room so even in the winter I can have a fire on and observe. Yeah. Fantastic.
Sean, make that happen for me, man.
I'll get right on it.
Thank you. My wife will not let me do that, but we'll see.
Oh, so you're not allowed an observatory then, Stephen?
No, I did build a 10 by 20 shed for her stuff, but I'm not allowed to have a roll off roof. I did get a tent from a company in Australia called Star Point Australis or Starlight Australis or whatever.
The guys at Neath, right?
Yeah, the guys at Neath. I did buy their largest tent, and I'm still waiting for it to arrive. And they guarantee it'll stand up to the winds and everything down here, but it won't be the same as a roll off shed. I mean, you're talking about a tent, and if the pigs can knock it over or the snakes can get in it, then I can't use it. And most of you saw this pictures of the rattlesnakes sitting in my astronomy imaging chair. The last night I was out imaging, and that's not something I want to repeat.
No.
8-foot rattlesnake in your chair is not good.
You weren't sat in it.
I would have sat in it indeed, did I not stop and use my flashlight to see if there was a pig behind the chair or not, because we have hogs that are 300 pounds. Had I not looked for a hog behind the chair, I would never have seen that snake, and I would have sat right on it and I'd be dead right now.
Oh.
Very venomous.
And who says astronomy isn't an extreme sport?
I was way more worried about the pigs, but now I'm more worried about the rattlesnakes.
I'll take the minus 30 winter night solar snakes, scorpions, and everything else that the rest of the world deals with.
Yeah, these Australians think we're all sissies, man, because they gotta battle that kind of stuff just going to the mailbox.
Well, we were at we went out to our dark sky observing site over the weekend, and we got the same problem with pigs. They've just gotten ridiculous, and we were coming home. We're coming home from having dinner at the pub the other night, and there's about 8 of them, Stephen, that ran out in front of the car, and some of them were pretty blooming big.
Yeah,
So,
we've got some very big ones here.
Yeah, so it's getting
Very
pretty
big.
bad. And then you're right, we got the snakes out there too, which the worst one is called an eastern brown snake, and that, as you
Right.
probably know, the second deadliest snake in the world.
I do know that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen them.
yeah, so I know where you're coming from. Don't worry. We have to be careful walking around in summer at night time there.
I need a big bubble to put around me that I can just roll around in when I'm out there.
Exactly.
Snake-proof bubble with air conditioning would be great.
What about the little deadly spiders in the observatory?
Yeah, there's a lot of those. The brown recluse and the black widow are very common down here. So whenever you're going through your wood pile or doing anything in the shed, you have to poke first with something to make sure there's not a snake or a wolf spider or a brown recluse in there. You know, it's just part of living in natural beauty. I mean, we've got the most beautiful land you'll ever see anywhere. At 40 acres of it. It's breathtakingly beautiful. The biodiversity is unbelievable. But you can also get killed by about 20 different things out here. So.
Or eaten.
Still better. Or eaten. Still better than living behind a gay bar in Atlanta. So, which is where our other house is. I'd still prefer this over the screaming drunks at 3 in the morning having sex in my front yard. So.
Oh, God.
It's been an interesting meeting. It's been really good.
Yeah.
I guess in
Anyone else?
Nigella you don't have any of those sort of creatures in your shed then.
Sorry?
Nigella.
1 to 3 in the morning.
I guess you don't have any deadly things in your shed.
Well, actually, I've got this house spider that's been living in there for about 2 or 3 years. I don't know how long they live, but this one just eats every other spider that comes in. So
They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
I just leave it there, so you know it gets rid of everything else.
We have those here too. And if you see one in your shed, that means you're not going to have the other spiders there because they eat everything, and they're not venomous, so you can pick it up and it doesn't matter if it bites you or not.
It's grown quite big.
Yeah. We got a lot of those here.
You take it for a walk or anything, maybe on a
Take it for a walk
on a lead.
Has that feedback been fixed?
Oh, yeah.
Nice and clear now, Ralph.
Yes.
Yeah, all good?
Good.
Perfect.
Great.
Yep, fixed.
I have been doing something while being useful while you guys were talking.
I doubt
At least one of us was.
All right. Well, I guess we've got out what we needed to get out. Unless anyone has any more comments, I'm feeling very bad. I need to lay down, so I'm going to thank everybody for showing up. And Nigella, good to see a new face here.
Thank you.
And a face that you can actually look at without feeling ill, which is good, like the rest of these guys. So thank you for attending, everyone. And if there's anything we can do on Solarchat, please send us a message. And again, thank every one of you for making that Kosovo experience a reality. It was unbelievable, and I wish every one of you could have been there. It was a really, really overwhelming experience. And so I think our job is done with Charlie Bates. And we will see you next month on Solarchat. And adios.
Take care, all.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.
Get better, Stephen.
Bye.